when did you see this this note from Jerry Jones? When I saw it during the course of my day, I was like, oh, okay, so this is going to be something that you have to talk about because it really shapes the way that we talk about this team. I think there was a lot of anger, a lot of disappointment, a lot of apathy with this team after what we saw in the wild card round against the Green Bay Packers. The ways in which they lost, the ways in which not just that they lost in a crazy way, but they also, surrendered what seemed like a fantastic opportunity with one of the best teams that they've had in a very long time. And so people are like, man, this team's unserious. It's not going to get done. And especially because we know what the MO is of this organization over the last, 5-10 years. Feels like you knew that there wasn't, the offseason, there wasn't a lot of hope for what was going to happen. Let me know on the text line. Do you have just a smidgen more hope as we got today? I know that Clarence Hill Jr., friend of the show, he tweeted it. I know that some other people that cover this team tweeted, and it went all over the world in a way, that Jerry Jones said that this team is going all in, right?
Yep.
I want to get those exact words again because it'd be good to be, precise with this as much as we can, but the basic idea is not one that you could forget. The idea that this team, that Jerry Jones himself said that this team needs to be a level of all in, and here it is. Jerry Jones said the Cowboys are going all in 2024. Quote, "We will be going all in. I would say that you will see us this coming year not build it for the future." Close quote.
Yep.
Does that give you any level of hope? What was your reaction to hearing or to seeing that Jerry Jones said those words?
Well, my reaction was, it kind of takes a step back of, I'm 24 years old, so I've been through this, not as much as some other Cowboys fans, but I've seen a good amount of this, and it was kind of the thing was we can't beat the Niners. And my hope was this past season, I was like, well, we're not going to match up with the Niners. We got a good thing ahead of us. This year, we're going to break that curse. The whole Cowboys can't win in the playoffs. Dak can't win in the playoffs. I think it's a little overblown. We're playing the best team in the NFC, blah, 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 blah. And then we lose how we did, and we all know that. I'm at the point where you have to prove it to me. I'm protecting my peace as a Cowboys fan. I'm not going to get my hopes up. I'm not going to fall for the hoopla of Jerry Jones selling us. And I think that's exactly what it is. He knows that Cowboys fans are ready to give up. He knows that there's really nothing you can say. And you mentioned it in the crosstalk. To be fair, it is probably the best thing he could say, but it doesn't mean we have to bite it.
Sure.
And I kind of think that's where I'm at. I saw, and part of his media availability when he was talking, the quote that stuck with me the longest was he said, where he used a basketball analogy saying that we're hanging around the rim and that we're kind of right there and that no reason to kind of blow it up because we're right there pretty much. And I'm like, I sent that to my friend and I said, we're never going to win. Now, obviously it was a little bit overreaction, but in truthfulness, it feels like Jerry Jones knows that his roster and his brand is always going to be just good enough. And if we're talking just brand, is going to be the biggest no matter what. They could be 3 and whatever next year, and they're going to still be the number one brand.
That'd be 14.
3 and 14, they can win a Super Bowl, and they'll be the biggest brand. Like, that's not going to change based on their record next year. And I think Jerry Jones is aware of that. The whole I'm going all in, I mean, I guess we'll see it. Have we ever seen the Cowboys in recent memory really go all in? They kind of take a foot inside the pool and get one big name, i.e. a Brandon Cooks to Stephon Gilmore.
Well, even that was a departure. That was a departure from what had become their MO. It's kind of funny because depending on how long you hung around with this team, you've seen them go from kind of wildcatter, right, in the Jerry Jones style of being that oil man that, just kind of went and took chances, right? Like, you have to understand, in the oil business, you're buying land and you're going and you're trying to see if there's oil there, and you're just constantly going around and taking gambles. And it seemed like Jerry Jones ran the team as such for a good period of time. And then in a way like of maybe even overcorrecting, you got to the time, and maybe this kind of coincides with, Stephen Jones getting a little bit more, say-so in what's happening. It got to be more and more conservative, more and more, scared, for lack of a better term, in the way that they did things. And this past season, them actually trading for assets in the offseason, and you mentioned that's Brandon Cooks, that's Stephon Gilmore, felt like an opening up a little bit. And so I don't know. I'm not telling you have to believe them because that feels wild to say. There's been many times over the time of Jerry Jones in particular, but even Stephen Jones, that they've said things that we've looked at and we've been like, all right, we're going to hold you to this account. And ultimately they did not. That was not what happened. So yeah, I hear you. And I do not blame anybody that listens that says, yeah, man, I'm not biting on this. But I do want to ask, let's at least play this out in our minds. What if they are telling the truth, right? And to be fair, it does feel like it seems like they have set this up where they should go all in, right? You give Mike McCarthy basically to the end of his contract this last season.
Yeah.
I know that Jerry Jones, when it came to this availability that he had, Clarence Hills Jr. of the Fort Worth Star-Telegram tweeted that Jerry Jones refused to commit to signing Dak Prescott to an extension because the team is taking a holistic approach to the offseason, offered this statement, quote, Dak has done nothing to change my mind about any promise for the future. I think I've said that we will go as far as Dak takes us in the playoffs. Remember that. We will go as far as Dak takes us, and that that is how far we want. That doesn't change a thing. We'll go as far as Dak takes us, right?
All right, so the second round, here we go, baby.
But with that being the case, is like, again, did not commit to having Dak Prescott. Like there is some level of openness there. But regardless, assuming that they're telling the truth, they do go all in. What does all in look like for these Cowboys as of right now?
I think all in would look like you go get whatever best linebacker they perceive in the open market. I think that's the number one thing you have to do. You have to go fix that need and make your team immediately better. Patrick Queen, Levante David, Devin White, any of those Bucks linebackers. You re-sign Brandon Cooks, you re-sign Gilmore. You kind of get some of those steady pieces back. Like, I don't know much more what this team could do outside of linebacker to up talent their team, because that was not the problem. It was not like, man, they just don't have talent on this team and they're just fighting behind with talent. If only they were more talented. I don't think anyone said that about this Cowboys team. So I don't really know what going all in would change for this Cowboys as far as roster building. Now maybe, and you're not getting a new coaching staff.
It does not seem like it is. I mean, Mike McCarthy is still the head coach. He'll still be the offensive play caller. And we have had reports to say that Dan Quinn, should he not get one of these head coaching opportunities that is open, will return as your defensive coordinator. So those things at least stay the same from what we could tell.
Yeah. What do you even do? I mean, outside of linebacker, which I think everyone with brain cells working would know that that's the thing you got to adjust. You don't have any, you got to fix that, whatever you do, draft, free agency, trade, whatever. You got to fix that. But outside of that, I mean, there's your offensive line, but that's more of the future. I don't really know what guy you're going to plug and play, and all of a sudden you just have this better O-line that fits inside the salary cap, because if you've looked at the salary cap, it's not like the Cowboys are one of the top teams as far as money goes.
No, but they have moves that they were going to have to do.
A lot of restructures
and those types of things.
Yeah.
And this is the thing, right? I think that this is where we start talking about the all-in nature of it, which is.
Are you thinking more players that are on the team bringing them back, or I'm reshuffling of the team?
I think that there's some reshuffling of the team that needs to happen. Okay. Like from the 2-1-4, they mentioned defensive tackles as well. That's another place where you could.
Chris Jones. Go get him.
Yeah, I don't know that you have
I mean, if you want to go all in,
that feels like that might be a place where you're not even able to make it happen, even with restructuring, right? But I think that there's something to be said for the idea of, look, they've done a lot of protecting future salary cap in various moves, and I think there's been a lot of times where you can tell that they're trying to, but we're trying to play for the future as well. We want to have that level of open. And if I hear him correctly, and assuming that Jerry Jones is speaking truthfully, because again, Jerry be talking, understand. But if he is coming from a place of reality, they are not worrying about what that salary cap looks like in the future is not what you do, right? If you are going style. All in, right? F them picks is a way that you go about it, even though I don't know that you have a ton of those picks necessarily.
You're too good to have good picks.
Start looking at what is the stuff that will help right now. What are the places that you can upgrade right now without having the consideration for, but what does that mean in the future, right?
Well, so I guess if they're doing that, then you go get the best linebacker you perceive.
I think one of the top linebackers is something like, you mentioned Roquan Smith.
Yeah.
I think Roquan Smith could absolutely. Levante David is a free agent.
Yep.
Levante David could be a guy that you get, especially when you look at Levante David. That's a dude who's like 34, and you go, oh, I don't know if you want to sign that guy to like a contract, considering that in a few years. Right. And I don't know if you can get it done with the 1 year, but worry about this year. It's like that's the idea that I hear within the all-in, if that makes sense. Is that
maybe one of these big name running backs. I don't personally think so.
I don't know that you need to get a running back.
I don't think so either. But this whole all-in theory isn't drafting a guy in the 4th round, which I think the Cowboys should do.
Well, we've seen teams get high-level caliber play out of running backs in the middle rounds, so that's one of the things. Do
you think they're gonna get caught up in the Derrick Henry minutia?
It's tough because I would assume no. Like, especially we can lean on Michael Gelkin, who reported from Dallas Morning News that it made it seem like this team is going to take an approach where they're no longer under a ton of money having to spend in the running back position, and it made it seem like going forward they're not going to try and spend a ton of money on running backs. But with that being the case, I think that what that will allow them to do is dump more money elsewhere and really maximize the salary cap. I mean, there's also, in addition to talking about the salary cap, there's been a lot of seasons that this team has gone in and had extra salary cap space through the season that they've not been willing to really work into. And so, assuming you are actually going all in, it seems like you go get a few high-level free agents. You actually play in the free agent pool in a real way.
And like, you're ahead of the game. You're not just waiting for the scraps and what happens and we'll throw in a little money here. You're the one setting the tone. Yeah.
And you know what? We probably need to start getting into that free agency pool, right? Like, see who are free agents to see if, hey, there are some names that we like. But I think defensive tackle, I think linebacker are clearly places that you can make upgrades. I don't know. Like, you do need a center. You still need a center if you really want to go to a certain place. Like, you could still look at a guard if you were going to move Tyler Smith out, and if Tyron Smith is not in your future plans, right? And so I think that those are things that you could look at if you wanted to go all in. Well, also, hey man, you could play in the trade pool as well. Like, if you are talking about all in, it is look to upgrade this to the maximum potential, right? Because it seems like you're doing a measure of grading on Mike McCarthy, and it seems all in would strike me as we're giving you the best possible to get this done, and then if you don't get it done, we move. And so that would be, I imagine, the hope. The problem is you have not been given a ton of reason to hope that they are actually going to, or believe that they're actually going to follow through with this, because there's been times where they've kind of danced around the idea of all in, and you haven't seen them really, empty the cannon.
And I don't think the all in theory would even work. I don't think getting everyone we just named, Chris Jones, Patrick Queen, would we be better? Yes. I don't think that really puts us over the hump. I'm gonna be completely honest. I still don't think we make it to the Super Bowl. If you go get, this is obviously in a perfect world, no one else gets it. You get Chris Jones, you get Patrick Queen, and we'll just say one other player, whatever running back you want to name. I still don't think that's enough, just because of the foundational issues of your coaching, of your quarterback. I think it's more than just getting more talent. Now, I think that is great future, and that's things you have to address, but I don't see the Cowboys, the talent's there. That's not the problem. I just don't see fundamentally the Cowboys really being able to get over that hump, because we were more talented than Green Bay. We were maybe just as talented as San Francisco, maybe a little bit less. Still, we get out coached. We get on both sides of the ball. We get out quarterback played by rookies, by vets. It doesn't matter. So it doesn't really matter where you're at on that spectrum. I don't even think all in would even be the smartest thing to do. I think either be average, which is what we are, or be terrible. We're not in an all-in go-in spot right now for how this team is constructed, top to bottom.
I would disagree with that. I think you're absolutely in an all-in spot, right? Like, you're reaching an end point where it's like, if it's either now or never. And I feel like now or never is the dichotomy that maybe you set up there, where it's like, okay, if it's just blow it up, which I think a lot of fans have advocated for. But it seems like, and to me, you have too many good pieces out there to just be like, blow it up. Like, push all in.
I don't think it has to be a full blow up, like trade Micah, trade CD, all of that. But I mean, I've been on this for a while. Chia Follow, I know I said this. I do not think Dak Prescott's a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I don't care who you put around him. He's not a Super Bowl winning quarterback. I believe that.
I think that notion's kind of ridiculous, because we've seen mediocre quarterbacks.
And that's not my point.
In those places.
I'm not saying where he is talent wise. I would say Dak Prescott's better than Brock Purdy. I would say he's better than Jared Goff. There's less talented guys that have made it to the Super Bowl.
Sure.
I don't think Dak Prescott himself can make it to a Super Bowl. Doesn't matter what roster you put around him.
I think I'd like to dig into that at some point. I'm interested into what the thought process exactly is there. But I appreciate the thought process, and I'm sensitive to the idea that, again, there's reasons. People are not acting irrationally when you guys have this level of deep distrust with the Jones family, with the Cowboys organization. You're not acting irrationally. Like, you're operating off of a lot of data that you've seen. But here we are again with Jerry Jones specifically saying,
he's good at it, man.
This is a season that they go all in, and it's going to be very easy to tell if they're holding up to their bargain, as the offseason is soon to be like fully underway. We're going to have free agency going. Like, these things are going to be obvious, but he's established the standard that he is, that they are going to be judged by this offseason. Mm-hmm. All in are the words that he used. Those two words. Those are going to be the standards that we have to hold him to.
Obviously, McCarthy's just getting this 1 year left and not getting an extension. What do you think the Cowboys have to do to give him an extension? I don't think it's going to happen. It's very unlikely.
Wait, say that one more time. Sorry.
McCarthy is just playing this year out, and he's not getting an extension. They've said that we're not extending him like this offseason. We're not going to give him some 5-year deal right now.
In a vacuum, or like in reality, what the Cowboys might do.
Like say they get bounced in the first round, he's gone. I think that's not really a hot take.
Yeah.
What do you think he has to do to stay? Conference championship, Super Bowl?
Probably conference championship.
Okay.
Like, I mean, in my mind, I'm like, I wonder if they just get edged out in a divisional round, but I'm not even sure if that's the case because of how good you have been over the course of the last 3 seasons. I feel like it has to counteract some of the things that have happened prior. But again, the reason why I don't sound committal on this because the Jones family and Jerry Jones in particular has made my prognostications on what they're going to do wrong time and time again. And so, I mean, hell, I would have told you lose in the division or you lose in the wild card round this year, and especially based off of what Jerry Jones had established, that Mike McCarthy probably does not return, and here he is returning. So, again, though we're working off of what Jerry Jones has said, according to Clarence Hill Jr., that this is a team or this is a year in which they are going to be all in. And so that's what we're going to be looking out for in this offseason from the Dallas Cowboys. We'll see if they live up to their word in that way.